In the USA, Putin was recognized as a war criminal. Over 700 times, Russia violated its own ceasefire in the first 12 hours of its implementation. Putin jammed mobile communication in Moscow because he fears for his parade. Russian Z-patriots spoke at the UN, and Lukashenko admits he has overstayed in power. Welcome. My name is Katerina Pakalchuk, and before we begin, subscribe to our channel and like this video if we have piqued your interest. Things are about to get intense. Today in Moscow, perhaps the main celebration of cynicism will take place. The organizer of mass graves in Bucha will talk about the atrocities of the Nazis.
The man who
organized Bucha's mass grave.
And Putin will be boasting about victory not only in front of Russians, but also in front of numerous foreign guests, who began arriving in Moscow the day before. The presidents of Zimbabwe, Congo, Kazakhstan, Serbia, Guinea, Egypt, Burkina Faso, and others. Of course, the Bulbo Führer Lukashenko also flew in.
Thank you much.
But the main guest, truly the highlight of the program, is the leader of China, Xi Jinping. Putin was so delighted by his arrival that he couldn't even pronounce the name of the Chinese guest.
Dear Mr. Jinping.
Now, people are joking online that for such disrespect, China will take Siberia for itself. But not everyone made it to the parade. At the last moment, the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, declined the visit, as did the bunker dweller and the president of Laos. Well, while overseas guests are being welcomed with bread and salt, ordinary Russians are being prepared for a day in isolation. Russian media report that during the festivities on Red Square in Moscow, they plan to shut down mobile internet. But Putin will go even further. The Kremlin plans to jam mobile communication entirely. Such a security measure. Well, of course, they can't rely solely on the riot police with shields to protect the distinguished guests. But the security measures don't end there. The Russian publication Verstka reports that Moscow's utility workers have been given binoculars to monitor drones. But still, the Kremlin seems to have overlooked something. Why didn't they station Russian priests around the perimeter? Well, while the main parade is being prepared, smaller parades are taking place all over Russia. Of course, not on such a grand scale, because the equipment available locally consists of museum exhibits that were last operational in 1945. In 2025, this relic is falling apart right on the roads. This is a parade tank in Bashkiria. During rehearsal, its track fell off.
Track!
But even such wrecks were not enough for all of Russia, so in some regions the equipment is made of cardboard. Oh, and also then they give children rides on the mock-ups. These are shots from the parade of nursery troops in Krasnodar.
My kids.
Russia has long indoctrinated its children. They instilled victory mania with mother's milk. And now the Kremlin is trying to do the same with Ukrainian children in the occupied territories. In occupied Melitopol, a kindergarten has been turned into a center for propaganda and brainwashing of Ukrainian children. Instead of children's games and fairy tales, there is propaganda under the supervision of the Russian Investigative Committee. And they are taught there to love Russia, which came to them with war, and whose missiles destroyed their city. There were days of Russian culture and language at the UN, and now there's also a Russian choir at the UN.
Voices fly and fall upon us.
In the UN General Assembly Hall in New York, a concert was organized for the Russian Victory Day. The Turetsky Choir performed there.
It falls to us.
It's a hurricane.
This choir openly supports the war, and its founder even openly mocks the fact that despite the sanctions, they perform at the UN.
It's truly a miracle. Despite the sanctions, we came to visit you.
Of course, the Russian representative to the UN, Nebenzia, was at the concert. However, neither the UN itself nor the Secretary General of the organization announced or commented on the Russian concert. Everything you need to know about the truce declared by Putin. On the morning of May 8th, Russia launched an airstrike on the Sumy region. A 55-year-old woman was killed. At night, the Russians struck an apartment building in Kostiantynivka, Donetsk region. Regarding Putin's truce, as reported by the TV channel Suspilna, the Ukrainian armed forces have been ordered to attack the Russians only in response. Although earlier, the Ukrainian authorities stated that they do not believe in Putin's truce and do not accept it. There are reasons for this, as evidence suggests that the truce is a farce.
In some directions, there were no combat clashes in the morning, but there were active combat clashes on the Nisa. Therefore, once again, we are not talking about any truce. So there were assault actions starting from the north when they supposedly announced the truce. There were assault actions in the Lyman direction, in the Lysychansk direction, directly in the city of Vovchansk, in the Kramatorsk direction in Chasiv Yar, in the Toretsk direction in the city of Toretsk, and in Shcherbinivka in the Pokrovsk direction. We have already mentioned this. Active in principle attempts to advance along the entire front, and the same in the Novopavlivka direction. Therefore, to say that they themselves declared some kind of truce, well, as we can see, it is not noticeable at the front, it is not noticeable in the rear.
And according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiha, in just the first 12 hours of the announced truce, Russia violated its own promise 734 times.
According to our military data, despite Putin's statements, Russian forces continue to advance along the entire Ersh front line. From midnight to noon, Russia committed 734 ceasefire violations and 63 assault operations, 23 of which are still ongoing. 586 shellings of our troops' positions, 464 of which involved heavy weaponry, 176 FPV drone strikes, and 10 airstrikes using 16 guided aerial bombs.
But no matter what, the front is moving. Since early morning, the Russians have been conducting assault operations in the Zaporizhia and Pokrovsk directions. During another assault attempt, Russian troops tried to approach Ukrainian positions by water through a canal. But the Ukrainians reacted in time and disrupted this operation with the help of drones. However, the enemy has successes near Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk region. As Ukrainian military reports, the Russians have made advances in this direction, and the enemy will not stop pressing. Russia is preparing a major summer offensive. The publication The Telegraph writes that although Russia's summer offensive is doomed to fail, the enemy does not change its plans and does not limit its interest to just the Donetsk region. Recently, we reported that Russia has already prepared 300 boats for the assault on the Mykolaiv and Kherson regions.
The enemy is beginning preparations for an amphibious operation. And already several hundred ships have been spotted, but the discussion was about 300. We also see that there have been attempts to land troops on small islands, which are currently under the control of Ukrainian defense forces.
So now the plans for the summer offensive are also being confirmed by Russian military correspondents.
Active preparations are underway for the summer offensive campaign. Units are being transferred and replenished. Inspections are being conducted from the center, and they are checking off that everything is ready.
Ukrainian troops are preparing to repel all enemy attacks. But our Cossacks are also preparing for May 9th, when the Russians celebrate Victory Day. And they have even prepared gifts for the Russian military for their favorite holiday.
Here we have dogs prepared. The guys have some others as well. Here are some leaflets. We made ones that are better, left untouched. We are preparing. In general, we brought this day closer as best we could.
In the Kursk region, Ukrainian defense forces destroyed a North Korean KN-09 rocket launcher for the first time.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Our missile troops and special forces detected and destroyed the North Korean MLRS. They hit it with a HIMARS with a single shot. But the festive mood of the occupiers was spoiled by far more than just one destroyed launcher. In recent days, enemy forces have attempted several times to assault positions in the area of responsibility of the 31st Separate Mechanized Brigade. But these attempts ended not in success, but in defeat. In addition to 1,500 killed and wounded, the Russians lost over 60 units of weapons and military equipment, including APCs and about 70 motorcycles, an ATV, reconnaissance, and strike drones. Great job! Give a like to support our defenders under this video. You won't believe it, but even J.D. Vance has stopped believing Russia. The U.S. Vice President stated that Russia wants too much in peace negotiations with Ukraine.
I wouldn't say that the Russians are not interested in finding a solution, but right now they are asking for a certain set of concessions, and we believe they are asking for too much.
I don't know about you, but I didn't expect Vance to actually tell the Russians to curb their appetites. But that's not his only revelation. Do you remember what Vance said about Europe in Munich at the security conference 3 months ago? Let me refresh your memory.
The threat I fear most regarding Europe is not Russia, not China, and not other external factors. I am concerned about the threat from within, Europe's departure from some of its core values, values shared with the United States of America.
So recently in Washington, the vice president issued the USA together with Europe. I
still believe that the United States of America and Europe are on the same team.
Vance says that the United States wants Ukraine and Russia to eventually sit down at the negotiating table without intermediaries.
We believe it is impossible to fully resolve this issue without direct negotiations between the two parties.
And Trump stated that he agrees with Vance's words and said that the time to make a decision has come, even though he would prefer otherwise. The President of the United States is clearly hinting at the previously announced imposition of strict sanctions against Russia to force peace. Do you think Trump is capable of pressuring Putin? Write your opinion in the comments. But it wasn't just J.D. Vance who opened his eyes, but also the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The head of the Treasury Department admitted yesterday that Putin is a war criminal.
I am asking a question about Russia. Do you consider Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
But despite Putin's status, negotiations will be held with him because, according to Bessent, that's the essence of diplomacy. Who do you think will be the next to call Putin a criminal? The U.S. President Trump was also generous with statements yesterday. However, he spoke more about a war from 80 years ago. Trump signed an order declaring May 8th as Victory Day in World War II. But you don't think that's all there was to it, do you? Trump stated that previously everyone celebrated the victory except the USA. Therefore, to ensure the immense contribution of Americans is remembered, he signed the order.
The United States never joined in the proper celebration, although the victory was largely achieved thanks to us. Whether you like it or not, we entered this war and won it. We had great help from many wonderful people, many wonderful allies, but I think no one would say that we were not the dominant force in this war. We do not celebrate this, and I think it's a great disservice to the people who lost their lives, and to the people who fought so hard for victory in World War II, as well as a separate Victory Day for World War I. We are also going to do this. It was American tanks, ships, trucks, planes, and servicemen who defeated the enemy 80 years ago. Without America, liberation would never have happened.
Trump, of course, acknowledges the contribution of Russia, or more precisely the USSR, but he says that the victory over Nazism is mainly the merit of the USA. I think Putin, who for some reason considers this victory exclusively his own, will not like this very much. And now more about the Russian essence: rudeness, disdain, and unprovoked aggression. In the center of the resort town of Karlovy Vary, a Russian attacked the well-known Czech journalist Jiří Hynek, the author of high-profile investigations into Russian influence in the Czech Republic, right during filming. This happened on May 1st, when the journalist asked Russian-speaking tourists about the war in Ukraine and their attitude towards Putin.
What do you think now about this war in Ukraine?
Nothing. It doesn't concern us.
Why? It's an important topic.
No.
Not important?
No.
And as soon as the uncomfortable questions were asked, one of the Russians couldn't take it, started swearing, and hit the journalist in the neck area.
People are dying there.
Go to heat.
What do you think about Putin now?
I don't know him.
I don't know him either.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
And while the journalist was calling the police in the hotel lobby, this, Russian lout continued to be rude.
Come on. Go ahead.
Who else?
Are you filming, huh? Get out. Good job.
Good day. We invite you to the English court, where we were attacked by Russians.
Well, go to hell. Satisfied?
I'm not afraid.
Satisfied. Are you satisfied?
I'm a journalist.
Are you satisfied?
I am satisfied.
Well, he's going to call the police. Anyway.
Well, let him call. Come here.
He's about to fly off. He'll fly off and not even blush.
We wanted to ask you.
I won't talk to you. You are not authorized to film me.
We invited the gentleman for a certain event.
Good day. Then the gentleman attacked us when we tried to talk on the street.
He'll fly off and not even blush.
We have it recorded, so my colleague will show it to you.
The police fined the attacker 10,000 crowns. That's approximately 380 euros. According to Jiří Hynek, these were Russians who have been living in Germany for many years. But as we can see, even there they continue to be Kremlin zombies. So no matter how many years they live in Europe, a Russian always remains a Russian. Are you against the war? Then you are servants of Satan. And these are not my words. In Russia, the church probably received an order from the Kremlin, as it has targeted Russians who do not understand the attack on Ukraine. Simply put, priests consider those who are against the war to be Satanists.
Peace and safety will only come with the Antichrist.
Vladimir Putin and those who seek peace and safety have the spirit of the Antichrist.
Halina Yanovich. Personally, this news does not surprise me, as even the head of the Russian Church, Patriarch Kirill, has repeatedly blessed the war. Church propaganda works perfectly, convincing believers that war is holy and peace is sinful. You won't believe it, but the longtime dictator of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, admitted that he has overstayed in the presidential seat.
Alexander Lukashenko, as I promised, a new generation has essentially been brought to power. Well, I stayed a little longer.
Halina Yanovich, I don't know which Colorado beetle bit him, but I agree, he has overstayed as president, because Lukashenko, I remind you, is the only president in the entire history of independent Belarus. But don't be fooled, common sense hasn't returned to him. Though he admits he has overstayed in office, he is still convinced that people with experience like him are also needed.
Alexander Lukashenko, well, I stayed a little longer, but bear with it, there must be experienced people, right? We have them. Well, the youth have come. You'll see and draw your own conclusions.
Halina Yanovich, approximately 125 fighter jets from India and Pakistan engaged in battle in the sky for over an hour. Oh, Galina Yanovich. Oh. On the night of May 7th, the largest air battle took place. India and Pakistan fired missiles at each other for over an hour at distances of more than 160 kilometers. Additionally, Pakistan struck an Indian airport with ballistic missiles. Halina Yanovich. The strike was likely a response to India's attack, which, according to Pakistani authorities, resulted in civilian casualties. The Indian side claims they targeted terrorists and destroyed the target. In short, the situation is escalating, and Pakistan continues to move equipment to the border, stating that India's attack is a declaration of war.
Pakistan nuclear.
This was done after Indian fighter jets attacked Pakistani airspace.
Halina Yanovich. Meanwhile, reports indicate the resumption of fighting between Indian and Pakistani forces. I remind you, these are two states that possess nuclear weapons. Do you think they will decide to use them? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's all for now. Like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. And then we'll definitely see each other again.